Hey, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honor to the elders, the apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to the whole Select Akim out there doing this work. This the brother you call him out for the Great Millstone Camp, the branch out here in Omaha, Nebraska, coming back with another lesson, Lord willing, to feed and to edify the lost sheep of the nation of Israel through the Holy Spirit, Racha HaKodash, which you Israelites consisting of the so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans, by the seed of your father, no matter what you may look like. And just want to get into this lesson, man, based off of a precept that I came across, and very much correlates with the times that we're in, the times that we're coming to, and the rulers that be and the rulers that are to be. Okay, and we understand right now that the rulers that are in power, being the Edomites, this world is turned into, a chaotic dwelling. Everything is chaotic, man. We got droughts of water. There should never be droughts of water. Okay, because that is a natural resource that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai have created for man to live off of. But here it is, when you have the devil in rulership, you have water droughts. Okay, you have major famines. You have confusion. You have destruction. And we've been seeing that on an all-time high, especially as of recent. And ultimately the point I'm getting to is when it boils down, the people are mourning, all right? Even his own people are mourning. And we've been seeing this for a while, going on with this financial situation, how the cost of living is getting out of control, where, you're not getting paid more at the jobs. But yet, your grocery bill's going up, your gas bill's going up, especially with the Strait of Hormuz being closed up. Something I want to get into based off of the video that I've seen from the Elder Ariella out of the Great Millstone Dallas camp, where it's like a diesel, I forget the term, like, pretty much it's like a crisis of gas, for these diesel trucks, these that deliver food and whatever it is, whatever specific commodity to these different stores and things like that. If these trucks can't move because the gas is too high, that leads to a famine. But this is America, all right? Starting with your boy DJ Trump, and all his pride, which ultimately we're cheering for it, because he is forwarding prophecy. He's forwarding. I won't say he's forwarding, but the Most High put a spirit on him to do what he's doing, to have that great sense of pride, and to just be a major catalyst of the prophecy leading into the kingdom of the nation of Israel, which is the kingdom of Yahweh Shai. But let's get into the scriptures. Doing a lot of talking, but this kingdom is coming to an end, man. And Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is about to set all this shit back in order. But I want to start here in the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, and verse 10. It says, "When it goeth well with the righteous, the city rejoiceth." And the righteous are the Israelites, the so-called Negro, the so-called Hispanic, and so-called Native American. When it goeth well with the righteous. And the reason why we are righteous, we have that title of being righteous, is because ultimately the law, statutes, and commandments were given unto us. Now, ultimately, when we go into the law, statutes, and commandments given to Israel, we always correlate it with, we are the only nation that can sin, which is true. Okay, but by the law, statutes, and commandments that we exercise and rehearse, as in rehearsing the righteous acts, that's what makes us righteous. In the eyes of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, we are that righteous people. Right? It says that the way of the wicked seduceth the righteous. So Israel was created a holy and right seed. Okay? But the time where Israel's about to be in their perfection is coming. So it says, when it goeth well with the righteous, the city rejoiceth. And when the wicked perish, there is shouting. There's going to be a time of joy when this evil, wicked, decrepit individual, Esau, Edom, is going to be taken completely out of the way. Right? Proverbs 29:2, very good precept also to bring out. I'm not going to get into that, but it is a twin precept to this. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people mourn. Everybody's mourning. You got Esau sitting in their car crashing out, talking about how the price of living is so high, they can't pay their bills, they can't pay their rent, they could barely eat. Because the cost of living is so high. And then you got this conflict going on with Iran over in the Strait of Hormuz, to where there's not specific things getting over. It's not oil. The oil's not pumping through here like it was once before the strait was closed. Which you use oil for a lot of things. Okay, to make certain products. All right, to fuel up these vehicles. All right, these diesel trucks, as I just mentioned, this has a major effect on America, man. Okay, but through the pride of Babylon, America, nothing's moving. And that therefore you have not only Esau, you got our people as well. And our people are crashing out too. But you don't see them as much as you see these Edomites. Because Jake is really used to being in dire straits and learning how to survive, with the bare minimum. But Esau, Edom, they're not used to it, Therefore, when he's taken out of the way, there's going to be a great shouting, right? And I just want to bring one more precept out. Didn't want to make this a long lesson, just something that was on my spirit, because I was reading, more of listening to Proverbs while I was at the plantation. And I just wanted to get into it, man, because it is very much relevant into the times that we're in. So when you get into Isaiah 14, where we at? 14 and... Slovakia. 14 and verse 6. Right? Or I started 5. I started 4. Right? This is Isaiah 14, verse 4. It says, I started 4. It says, I started 3. It says, and it shall come to pass in the day that Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. Which is talking about us Israelites, man. How we were put in this hardcore captivity under the hand of a wicked and immoral ruler, being Esau Edom, the so-called white man who has no regard for Yahweh Shem Yahushai's law, statutes, or commandments. Okay? But, our hard bondage, it came from our actions. It came from our attitude towards Yahweh Shem Yahushai. It came from our idol worshiping. So ultimately, Esau, in the eyes of the Lord, was justified to do the things that he's done. But we know, according to the book, I believe it's Zephaniah. Is Zephaniah or Zechariah? find that precept, but it says that he forwarded the affliction, though the Most High was displeased with us before a moment. I believe it's in the book of Zephaniah. Okay. So it says that, I'll just read on. It says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how art the oppressor cease? The golden city cease. Yahweh had broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers, which is their power. All right. Babylon is, America is at a very high so-called standard of, when it comes to, being a merchant, a major merchant of the earth, a major hub of having the best army. This is what puts America on such a high pedestal. But when it comes to morals, when it comes to when it comes to honesty, America is on the bottom. But even the things that are great about America, so to speak, are going to be brought down. Its power is going to be taken down, and America is not going to be that bully of the earth anymore. It says, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and none hindereth. Right? This is that bully of the earth. Putting sanctions on nations. When they fail to comply with your irrational means of, dictatorship. You can't get oil, so you put sanctions on them. Put up a puppet leader. All right. What was that? Was Saddam Hussein? Right, where he wanted to back up his currency by gold. The America went over there and they took him out of. They pretty much beat him in the streets, man. Took him out because they were looking to have their, to be back, have their currency backed by gold, because they knew that the American dollar, the fiat note, is not backed by anything. All right, it is a vain currency. Right, the BRICS nations, these are different nations that moved away from America, the U.S. dollar. Right, so when America is not getting their way, America is like a nigger woman, man. You don't get your way, you start creating war with everybody around you. But reading on, it says, I want to get to the point. This is the point of me bringing this up. It says the whole earth is at rest and is quiet, and they break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fellow has come up against us. So the earth is going to rejoice again. There will be shouting. All right? There will be shouting. People are going to be goddamn ecstatic when America is taken out of the way. Acts 3:21 is a very prominent precept that connects with this, because it says that the reason why there's going to be shouting, because there's going to be a restitution of all things. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is going to be taken and moved out of the way. He's going to be destroyed after 1,000 years of hardcore captivity. And then he's going to be completely taken out of the way. Okay? His name's going to be put out of earth forever and forever, according to the Holy Scriptures, man. So I just wanted to get into that. Like I said, it was just something that was on my spirit when I heard this precept, and just want to dive into it, edify on it. Lord willing, this was edifying, and I will leave it there. So, and with that being said, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honor is to the elders, apostles, and the bishops at Great Millstone. Peace, love, and salutations is to the hopeful elect. Shalom.